Hey, welcome to the Live Like It's True podcast, where we look at some of the most interesting and surprising stories of the Bible. Stories that collectively all tell the true story about God. I'm your host, Shannon Popkin, inviting you to open your Bible with me, to drink in this true story and to live like it's true.
Well, Veronica, here we are still in Shannon's beautiful home. Shannon, thank you we came and invaded your space.
My way. This is great.
We were thrilled. So hopefully our listeners should have listened to our first podcast. Tons of great information about story. But before we jump into that, Shannon, I wanted to give you just a quick chance. You also do a podcast, as long as an author and speaker. I have. I've been blessed several times to be a guest. But your podcast name is Live Like It's True. And what's the format? I don't know if point is the right word, but what do you do on your podcast?
Yeah, well, usually in a typical episode, we look at a story of the Bible and then we unpack it, and we talk about what makes this a good story? What's the surprise here? What's unusual? Why isn't it? I went to the mailbox and came back. That's not a story,
right.
So what makes it? What's interesting about it. And then we get to the point where we're looking at it from a spiritual component and asking, how can we live like this is true? How can we, this story packages up truth? So how can we align ourselves and live like the story is true? And how do we not do that? And so that's really the point. And I just love stories of the Bible. It's my favorite genre, like we talked about before. And you've been a guest. Let's see if I can remember. We talked about Jesus rising from the dead, the women, and you talked about first fruits. That was so great. We just did Paul's conversion.
Did we do that on the podcast?
I think so.
Maybe we did.
Or maybe I'm just thinking of another conversation.
I don't know.
But I'm pretty sure we did that one. And then we also just did a couple episodes on Jonah. Yeah. Well, and I listened to you guys' series on Jonah. It was so good. And, Veronica dug up all of Brian's really great research and stuff. It was really, really good. So I keep telling him I think he needs to get that book published. But anyway. So.
It's a great podcast. So I've enjoyed the ones I've listened to. I would heartily recommend it to our listeners as well.
Thanks so much.
But now we're going to jump back in. So I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Veronica.
So we're going to continue that conversation of stories. And Shannon's going to walk us through kind of how to do the story and bring it into our real world.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of putting it?
Well, I think, last time we talked about, you can just interject these stories into conversations and how they create good talking points. So you're not just arguing about abstract ideas. You're looking at something that has concrete pieces that don't move. So let's say you're talking to someone about gender and marriage. You can take them to the teachings of Paul, which are all very, those are great and they fill things out really well. But if you go back to Genesis and you talk about the fact that God created a man from the dust of the ground, and then he breathed life into the man, and then he took a rib from the man and created her out of the man and brought her to the man. And the word says that it's like this mirror image, they fit together. And so the two become one. And there's this marriage ceremony where God brings the wife to the husband. And so we can talk about that. That's a story. And the pieces don't move. And so why do you think that's the story God told? Why didn't he, first of all, why didn't he make them both out of the dust of the ground? What was he saying about that? And why, what's unique about even the way that he formed their bodies? If we know that he formed their bodies, what story is he telling by the way that he formed their bodies? And I mean, there's such intricate detail. What parables are these bodies telling? And the fact that two become one, we're talking about sex there, right? And so what story is God telling with sex? And then marriage is this, it's something tangible. It's real. It's physically two becoming one, but it tells another story that is abstract, is about Christ and the church. And so there's just a lot that you can do with going back to the stories of the Bible, the concrete, that God's already done the work for you.
Mhm.
And so you don't have to argue it all out. You can just say, well, what do you think that means? And ask questions. And so any thoughts on that? I don't know.
No, I think I like that we're starting at one level and going, there's so many more levels here. And even in how you're describing creation, Adam and Eve, it's like, oh, there's so many good conversations you can have. And looking at that, and how's a wife supposed to help the husband? And just,
Yeah, right.
I mean, starting with a story just blows open the discussion.
It does.
And you can go any direction, and depending on who's in the room,
yeah,
conversation will shift.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It's so true. And I'll just tip my cards. I think that God created her from Adam and brought her to him because God made her more relational. You know, she's related to him before she's even created. She's related to him and she's brought to him. And there's this like beautiful, like and even if you look at the curse, you know, the consequences for the woman had to do with both relationships, her children and her husband or her marriage. And so, and her body, she's the one who receives and nurtures life. And her arm has a different angle to carry a baby. Mary Cassian says this, like a man's elbow is like, if you put it like this, his arm is straight, where ours has a bend because it's easier to carry a baby that way. Isn't that interesting?
I'm so going home looking at all my boys tonight, going arms out.
I know. So anyway, we're just designed for a relationship, and that's why we are so relational. But anyway, so I think these concrete, physical, you know, before we hit record, we're talking about the physical world that we live in and how our hearts long for all to be put right in a physical sense, not just like this ethereal, like spiritual, like, you know, we want to feel things and know, you know, have a tangible physical experience of God's goodness. So let's move the conversation to like maybe more of a group setting. Like, let's say, you know, I think for a lot of us, the times that we're gathering with our people are holidays. And so one of the things that our family's done is used when we host, we don't always host, but when we host either Easter or Christmas or, you know, I guess you could do it at Thanksgiving. You could do it anytime. But what we'll do is gather everybody, and Ken and I will have a story prepared to tell, a story from the Bible. And we will have practiced it so that we're telling it the same way, you know, and we'll use like different hand motions or kind of like use the space to tell this story. I'll tell it, he'll tell it, and then we have the group help us retell it. And then we have them pair up and tell it to each other. So they're kind of like learning, they're taking in the story first. And so hopefully they go away with like just knowing the story. But then we have a conversation and we're just real simple questions. And I learned this from the people at let's see, what are they? Storytellers. It's a division of Crew. And I had a woman from that organization as a guest on the podcast. And so we were just like, you can go listen to that whole episode, but I'm just like truncating it all and telling you. So the questions that we ask in that group setting are, what do you like about the story? Not what do you like about the storytellers? You have to be, you know, because they'll say, oh, I like the way you used your voice. No. What do you like? What's compelling in this story? What do you like about the story? What do you not like about the story? You know, what is it that you don't like how it ended? You don't like how it, you know, whatever. And then what does the story tell us about God? What does it tell us about people? And then how can we live like the story is true? So it's just like 5 questions. And they, you know, it'll take us 30 minutes to walk through those questions and a couple ground rules before you lead the conversation. 'Cause like in our family, we've got some really great Bible scholars, and they could pontificate for a long time about many things. And so we tell everybody, okay, the rule is we're only discussing this particular story and only in the way that we have told it, because you may know other details in the telling of the story, but we're just going to like put those off, you know, like, so it's a level playing field. So even the little kids have heard everything that's going to be discussed, and everybody gets a chance to talk about what they think. And it's really interesting how people respond. And so, yeah, do you think you could do that in your family?
I don't know. Like, how long does that normally take?
I mean, maybe 40 minutes.
Okay.
You know, it takes about 1 minute to 2 minutes to tell one of these stories. So you do it.
Oh, so you're doing a short, fast story.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, it needs to be that. And if you want a version that's already done for you, you can go to Story Runners. Did I say that wrong before? It's Story Runners.
Okay.
It's a division of Crew. We can put a link, but they have like recordings,
Okay.
So we'll often just do that and just listen. It's a little 2-minute story. Like we said in our other episodes, like these stories are like 300 words. If you're going to do Easter, like we just do one little segment of the Easter story. Like we did the women coming to find Jesus. Or we've done, last year we did On the Road to Emmaus,
Oh.
So, and for the Christmas story, I think last year we did, I think Mary and the Angel. I don't remember. So like we'll just do different little pieces of the story. I think what it can be hard probably for those who, you've got Bible scholars in your family too. And so I think getting them on board, like maybe letting them know ahead of time, like, hey, we really want to just engage the kids and, and if you have unbelievers in your family, it's a really great way to get everybody talking. Now I will tell you this. There was someone in our family who will remain unnamed, who's like maybe having a little memory issues or whatever. It was so funny is we broke them into groups and they started to retell it. And he's like, we already told this. I've already heard this story. And it's like, he didn't catch the idea that, oh no, this is our third time doing this. So anyway, it's great. But everybody has responded really well.
Yeah.
And so now it's just part of what we do. And I don't know that it's for everyone, but I think anybody could do it. We've also thought about doing a little neighborhood, like inviting people to do we'll call them story discussions, I think. I just haven't found a time in the calendar. It's really been on my heart for a long time. So maybe this is my okay, I'm going to do this year. I think it, just be a great way to, whether they're believers or not, discuss a story from the Bible. So
yeah, that's just such a fun. I want to little fly on the wall and watch. Because in a way I kind of go, okay, this sounds great, and I'm wondering if people are going, but I still have questions. But I think that's essentially what we're going to do now is kind of walk through.
Let's do it. Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
perfect.
So, we'll just try it out with the story of the flood. It's 3 chapters in the Bible, so I'm not going to tell the whole thing, but I'll just basically tell you the story of the flood, okay? This is Genesis 6-9. So God looked out across the earth and he saw that mankind had multiplied across the face of the earth, but also that evil had multiplied. And as he weighed the thoughts and the intentions of the hearts of the people, he saw that they were only always evil. And this grieved God, and he determined that he was going to wipe mankind from the face of the earth. But one man was righteous. He saw that Noah was righteous, and that's because Noah walked with God. And so God told Noah, he gave him instructions for how he could escape this judgment that was coming. And so he gave Noah like measurements and instructions to build this ark that would be big enough for his family and 2 of all of the animals. And Noah did it. He obeyed every single thing that God said. When the time came, Noah and his family and 2 of each of the animals entered the ark, and God shut the door. And they waited for 7 days. They waited. And then the rain came, and it rained so that the ark lifted up above the face of the earth. But every single human being and every animal sunk to the bottom. And this was God's judgment. And so for 40 days, it rained, it poured, and it covered the earth. But at the end of those 40 days, the ark had risen, and they waited for the waters to secede. And so after months and months, God sent a wind to blow, and the waters receded, and it was time. God told God told Noah and his family to come out of the ark. And Noah built an altar, and the sacrifice was pleasing to the Lord. However, he looked and saw that mankind still, even from childhood, still had evil intentions of the heart. And so God promised to never again destroy the earth in this way, and the rainbow was his promise. All right, so there is the story, and
what we're missing is all the hand motions.
Oh yeah, no. So I do those mostly to help me. Remember, So I did like a crossing of the fingers for multiplying and building, like measuring and building the ark. Yeah. So yeah. So do you want to try and retell it together?
Yeah.
Do you feel like we can? All right. So
Okay.
All right. So God looked out
So
and
he saw like evil.
first mankind was multiplying.
That's right. It was
Okay.
2 X's.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mankind multiplied, and then mankind was evil.
Evil multiplied. And
Evil
he
multiplied.
looked at the
Looked at the heart and weighed.
The intention and thought
mhm,
was always evil.
only always evil. And
he was sad.
it was grieved. And
then decided to wipe it all and start over.
mhm. But
But he saw one righteous man,
mhm,
and he took, and then
And
Noah
Noah
walked with God.
yeah, he
yeah.
walked with God. That's
Yeah.
what made him righteous. And
There's-
so God gave him
Instructions.
how to
Mhm.
build.
and
ark.
how to escape the
Escape.
judgment.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And
Right.
so and then Noah,
Obeyed. He did everything.
he did
Mhm.
everything.
And 2 of every kind of
Yep.
animal was to
Mhm.
go with him on
Yep.
the ark.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
So
so
Noah-
when it's time, God called the animals and his family.
Noah and his
Mhm.
family.
And then God shut the door.
God shut the door. Yep.
And they waited
Yes.
for 7 days.
Yeah,
She pointed
seven-
at her
I know, I
watch.
pointed like a watch. So they waited for 7 days.
And then the rain came down,
Mhm.
and the ark was lifted up out of.
The water.
Yeah,
the
the
wa-
wa-
yeah.
But the people and everything else on the earth
Mhm.
sunk
Oh,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Sunk
Yeah,
down.
Sunk down. Yeah. And so they waited for
mhm.
months. And then
And then the winds came and the waters receded,
Mhm.
and then the ark sunk down. And then I
don't
feel like I'm
remember
skipping.
now.
Well-
Noah built an altar, but I
Mhm.
think I skipped something.
No. So after God told them to leave the ark, and then they built an altar.
And the aroma was pleasing to the Lord.
But
And-
then
God saw that man was still wicked from
Mhm.
birth, but he said he would never again judge with a flood.
mhm,
And so he put a rainbow in the sky
as his promise.
as his promise.
You did it! I'm so
Right.
proud of you.
And
I'm
we've
so
got
proud of
hand
you.
motions
I know.
flying
I know.
all around the table right
well,
now.
it's just me, and not Ken doesn't use hand motions when he tells stories, but for me, it just
Oh.
helps me remember.
Mhm.
So anyway,
But it gives you something too to just. Some of them I keyed in on he
Yeah,
waited and hitting
yeah,
the watch.
like, hitting the watch,
and-
yeah. I mean, they're
Mhm.
helpful for some people, but you don't have to. But I mean, look at that. Only took us a couple minutes,
Mhm.
to retell that. And so, like, if you want to try it, turn off your, hit pause on the episode
Right.
and try and see if you can retell it. But yeah, let's just think through some of those questions. So, what do we like about the story?
Serious faith deserves serious conversation. At Round the Table, we produce thoughtful, gospel-centered content grounded in the truth of God's Word. Pull up a chair and join us where truth and life meet. Visit roundthetable.co.
I like it's very visual.
Mm-hmm.
I like just, I mean, we can all picture the rain and the boat and the rainbow and I think part of it's probably children's Bibles are in my head too, of the
Sure,
animals
yeah.
coming 2 by 2, but it's a very visual, active story.
Yeah.
It keeps moving. It's got,
Mm-hmm. What do you like about what happens in the story?
well, I like that Noah's saved.
Yeah. Yeah, you like that God is merciful, that
Mhm.
he doesn't wipe because I mean, what we find out at the end is that Noah too
Mm-hmm.
is evil.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that God shows emotion in the story because I think so often we do I view my sin, I know my sin hurts other people, but to remember that my sin hurts God, that he is not untouchable,
right.
that he feels. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that reminder because I so often oh, he's God, he's fine.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's hurt.
Yeah.
It grieves him.
That's so true.
Because that shows relationship.
Yeah.
That shows that that shows that he's actively involved. You know,
Mhm.
I can hurt for people across the world and go, "Oh, that's sad," but I move on.
Yeah.
But when it's my own children and their heart is breaking,
Oh yeah.
it pulls me and compels me
Yeah.
even more so to know that God is actively
Yeah.
grieving. It shows he's right there.
Well, and if you think about this generation, if they were only always evil,
Mhm.
this was a wicked, this is like a
Mhm.
city. You didn't leave your doors unlocked. These were evil people. And it makes a difference that hurts God, that
Mhm.
he feels that, and that he doesn't want evil spreading. That
Mhm.
tells us, I like that. I like
Mhm.
that God doesn't want evil spreading.
Mhm.
I also like the fact that there is a limit.
Yes.
You know, like I like that there's a limit.
Mhm.
I don't want there to be endless evil,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I think right now we're crying out for there to be, you know,
Mhm.
what do we not like about the story?
I think we don't like that the people die
Oh, yeah.
because we don't put that in our children's Bibles.
Right.
You know, I can't remember which comedian it was, but he's like, maybe Tim Hawkins, I'm painting pictures on my children's walls. And he goes, we never have the ark and all the people in the water like drowning.
So
and
true.
And it's the ark. It's just the ark. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, isn't it wonderful? And it's like, you know what? But we forget that everybody died other than 8 people.
It's, yeah.
Everybody died. And you go, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of death and destruction. And we don't.
Well, and have you ever thought about when the waters receded?
Yeah.
There was still the remains of all of that. Like that had to be a lot.
And those people they knew.
Yeah.
That was neighbors. That was family members.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't like that at all. It's like a horror story. And yeah, I think it gives me a good picture of how bad sin is, you know? So, yeah, that's not fun. Anything else that you don't like?
All the animals dying too.
Yeah. What about those 7 days? Do you like that or not?
We were just talking about that in the car coming down.
Oh, you were about those 7 days?
We were.
Interesting. What's your thought on it?
It was a detail I hadn't paid attention to. So when you said it, because my mom was talking to me about it the other night, and I was telling Erika the conversation, and it was like, okay, 7 days. What's the purpose? Well, I mean, and now are you sitting there going, okay, why'd we get in this early?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because like our dad, when we go to the airport when we were younger, he wanted to be there like hours, if not days early.
Yeah.
And it's like, now we're sitting here waiting. I still like to get to the airport early because I'm prepared, but you go 7 days of just sitting around.
Well, and just think about like all that was at stake.
Yeah.
You know, because they hadn't had this sort of rain before, and for decades at least, he's building this thing, this monstrosity. And so this was a test of faith, but also God is about to let the waters fall back. It's like, if you think about creation, and we went from chaos to order, where he's dividing the waters from the land and the heavens, you know, so this is where he's going to let it all fall back together. So this is like those 7 days. This is like, it's a reversal of, an undoing.
I like that thought.
Yeah. But okay, so what do we learn about God in this story? You already mentioned something that God sees. What is, he sees and he responds. He's emotion, he has emotions.
I think we see both mercy and judgment, which I know either we've just talked about this or you hit on this earlier when we were discussing it. But like, yeah, he does judge evil, but there's mercy. There's a way out. Yeah. And so I feel like you get both.
Yeah.
In this story.
No, it's one movement. It's not just, God doesn't toggle between judgment and mercy. He is one God and he is one movement. So I think you're exactly right. It's like this is both his judgment and his mercy at the same time. The flood, in the ark is like, don't just look at the people falling to the bottom, look also at the ark. Don't miss that.
I think you see God punishing, but providing, and I think as you've looked, if we had time and look back at God punished Adam and Eve, but yet he provided for them. God punished Cain when he killed Abel, but yet he provided that mark. Yeah. So you go, okay, you see that in God's punishment, in disciplining us, he still provides and takes care of us. Yeah. And because to me, that communicates he still loves us.
Yeah, it's so true.
The punishment needs to come.
Yes.
But it
like,
doesn't.
Who would he be if he did nothing?
Right.
You think of a rape victim or a murder victim or like a child that's gone missing. Like, who is God when if he does nothing? Like, we don't want that God, but nor do we want a God who gives us no escape, right? Like we said in the last episode, if Jesus came the first time to destroy evil, well, we would be all like, there'd be no one left to save because we are all evil. And so, like we need both. We want both. And we're provided with both in this story. So yeah, we see both things in God. What about the fact, this part of
the building?
Yeah.
She's acting like she's got a tape measure. To me, it says God's involvement. Noah probably didn't know how to build an ark. I mean, and go build an ark big enough for your family and all these animals. Noah doesn't have all the plans and all the details. How long are we going to be there? How much water is going to be around us? How much food do we need?
Yeah.
Of just God giving, okay, here's what you need.
Yeah. Giving the blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
But also like that God involves us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's where I was going. That's what I was thinking. Like Noah had to walk this out.
Yeah.
He had to put feet to his faith. And he
Right.
couldn't just sit around and wait. Okay, God, you'll provide a boat. You'll do
Yes.
all this. Like he has to do something.
Yes. Yeah.
God partners with him, if you will, for salvation. Not that he brought his own salvation,
No.
but in obedience,
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
God saved Noah.
Yeah. There's like this hammer and nail faith, It's like pick up your hammer every day because you
Yes.
believe God. And that's, that's
You walk
true
it
to us.
out.
Yeah, you walk it out. You walk the that's really you walk the text. And so, all right. So, what do we learn about mankind in this story?
They're evil. We haven't changed much. So I guess
Yeah.
that's how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
we're still. There's a lot of junk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think with that, then there are rays of hope.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there who are not perfect. Clearly, Noah wasn't perfect, but walking in obedience to God. It just goes, when you feel alone, there could be somebody else that you don't know
Yeah.
who's walking it out.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, like it says that he was the only one in his generation, which may mean that even his family members, and I mean, just think about that, a whole wicked world, and he's the only one. And I think for us, I wrote this in my new book that's coming out. For us, we think of that like that's a really good characteristic that he's got this standalone righteousness. But I think the Hebrew mindset is so much more collective that they would have looked at that like there's no way that he could have been righteous if he didn't have outside help. And then the answer is provided. It's because he walked with God. That's why it's so important to put that detail in when you tell the story that Noah walked with God. That's why he was righteous. It wasn't just because he was better than everybody else. So, and so I think that tells us something about mankind, that we can either get swallowed up in evil and it's going to multiply no matter what. It's just going to keep multiplying and spreading. But there is a different way to live. And it involves not just walking with good people, but walking with God.
And when you have nobody around you, you can still have God, and that's enough.
Yeah.
If Noah can do it, because I don't think we can say that all of mankind is evil right now.
Right.
So I go, at least I have family and friends that I'm walking it out with and go, okay, I've at least got it better than Noah.
Right.
You know?
It's so true. Yeah. I think it was a distinctly evil time. And it may have something to do with the Nephilim, but I have nothing to say about that. I got nothing.
It wasn't involved in the story.
Yeah. Well, that was off the table. That's, we didn't put that in there. But okay. So how could we live like this story's true?
Scripture is one story woven together from Genesis to Revelation. On Gospel Threads, 3 Christian women sit down to trace the gospel story and ask how they shape our lives today as wives, mothers, friends, and followers of Jesus. Gospel Threads is part of the Round the Table family of podcasts. Pull up a chair and join the conversation.
I think you walk it out daily with God. You go, okay, daily spending that time with him going, what do I do today? How do I act today?
Yeah.
Where are you today?
Or where are the blueprints?
Yeah. Oh, that would be so nice.
Right?
I
But
like really specific blueprints though, just well,
but we have our Bibles. That's our blueprint for life, right? Life and godliness. We've been given everything we need for life and godliness.
I think I was just struck by the fact, Shannon, that like Noah was very practical. He just did what God called him to do, build a boat. Like to me, it's like, well, if the end is coming, you should be out there preaching. You should be out there teaching.
Yeah.
But no, he was called to build a boat. Like right now, I'm called to raise my kids.
Yeah.
That for me is building the boat. That's what God has called me to do today. No matter what it looks like in the eyes of the world, I'm a mom.
Yep.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I understand mom's work. I get that.
Yeah.
But like, this is what God's called me to do today, to be with my kids
so
and
good.
teach them. And that's regardless of what the world says, this is me being obedient.
Well, and I love that because like God did put a hammer in Noah's hand, right? And he's giving you some sense of agency
right.
in the world. He didn't just say, just wait for the ark to appear.
Right.
Like you have a part in building it. And I think he
Right.
wants for us to be productive and
Yes.
to be, about this good work that
Right.
he's called us to, which for you is raising kids. For
Right.
all of us, we have our assignments for the day,
Our little sister isn't married and she has her own business. And so for her, building the boat is running her business well and making her staff and her clients, like bringing God glory through making them happy.
Yeah,
and
it's so true.
It's a very practical.
Yeah. It's so good. Anything else?
Well, I was even thinking, just what are the truths? There is evil in this world. Call evil evil.
Yes.
Acknowledge this. It's okay to say, people, what happened to you was evil, was wrong.
And God grieves over that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he grieved so bad over that he wiped the world clean at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a rainbow.
Right?
He's not going to do it
hope.
again. Yeah, he's not going to do that again. We don't have to worry. And yet, he's made this other provision. Like he's a merciful God. I think for me, like the biggest, like how to live like this story is true is keep my eyes on that ark, because the ark rose above the judgment. Like that's where the camera, like if there's a spotlight, it's going to go on the ark, right? That's where the story's headed. And that's what God wants for us to know and remember about him. That's where all of the ink is spilled. I think I said that in the last episode. If you look at where all the ink goes, there's only a few verses that talk about all those people that their life was snuffed out, everything that had breath died. But the rest of the ink goes to the preparation with the ark, the creation 2.0 story. And so living like it's true is like God has made a way for life to continue. And so I think those are all really good things. Okay, so I love to, when we talk about stories of the Bible, talk about how can we embrace the truth and reject the lies? Because I think, we've talked about how we live in this world full of lies. So how about this? I'm going to propose this. I didn't ask you this ahead of time, but what if I give you a lie that you might be confronted with in a conversation or whatever? How could you use the story of Noah and the flood to refute that lie? Like what's something from this story that you could use to embrace the truth and reject a lie? Are you up for that?
Yep. No. I'm going to move the microphone in front of Erika.
No. Okay, so here we go. How about the lie that God doesn't care what I do or how I live?
Oh, go for it. Well, just God's watching. He sees it and it grieves him. So God, he's watching the good and the bad. Yeah. So when I do the good, that it does bring him joy. It doesn't say that in Noah's, but if he's grieved and saddened over the bad, then I would think the opposite is true when I'm doing the right thing. When I choose that hard thing that is right and reject the sin, that it would bring him joy and pleasure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you picture God looking out at that generation, he took great pleasure in that Noah was righteous. He walked with God. He wants all of us to walk with him, right? So very good. Anything to add?
Nope. No. You get the next
all right.
question.
Okay. I decide what's right for me and you decide what's right for you.
Well, God apparently had one standard if he's going to wipe out everybody based on sin. And Noah, like there had to be Noah did something right that everybody else did wrong. And so you may think it's right for you. I mean, all these people thought they were doing what was right for them. Right in their own eyes. And it wasn't so good.
It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. No, God is the one who ultimately decides. And you can raise your fist against God and say, no, this is right for me. But this story shows that he has authority and he said they were evil. And and I think too, like when you think of the future judgment, the fact that there is a judge who judges, I think that's what he's telling us in this story. Like there is a judgment and all of us have fallen short, even Noah and his family at the end. All right. Having Jesus in my life won't make anything better.
Oh, that's such a lie.
It may not make it easier.
Yeah.
I think that's where
this story isn't easy, right? But
you're saved. I mean, Noah lived at the end of the story.
Yes. Yeah.
But Noah had to work. It
Mhm.
wasn't, I mean, God could have just went, boom, here's the ark.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. He required Noah to put in day after week after week after month after year.
And go against the grain of everything.
Yes.
Building this boat was not what anybody else was doing.
Yeah. And to go, you had to put the time and effort and energy into it. I'm going to save you. I'm telling you exactly how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes we want the easy button.
Yes.
Yeah. God, I'm struggling with this and just take it from me.
Yeah.
Well, if he just takes it, then it's easier to fall back in. But if
Yeah.
I know the blood, sweat, and tears I put in, overcoming that temptation, that addiction, that whatever, I'm less likely to go back.
Yeah. And just that walking with him is part of that.
Yeah.
That breaking free from the evil of this world. It's like there's no shortcuts to walking with him.
Yes.
Yes. And I think sometimes we want that shortcut.
We're lazy.
Yeah. So, but having Jesus in our life, I mean, Jesus is like the ark in this story. And when we're in Christ, we already are saved. And so then living like we're saved means like, we don't want to go back to just live like everybody else. Like we've been saved from that. So, and like, that's what's so sad at the end of this story. Like that's actually, when they get off that boat, they build this sacrifice and it's this pleasing aroma. And we're like, okay, everything begins again. It's awesome. It's wonderful. And then I'm breaking my own rules, but we have the story of Noah getting drunk and it's just like, oh no. Cause it kind of repeats Genesis 3. There's fruit, there's nakedness, there's shame, there's a curse. And you're just like, oh no, we are hitting repeat. And it's like, no. So anyway, but our hope is in Christ. Okay. God just wants me to catch his eye by being good, or at least being better than other people.
Ooh.
We kind of talked about this one already.
A little bit. I mean, it's kind of,
it's tricky because our culture would say that.
yes. But it's more than just, well, I'm trying to catch his eye and I'm trying to look good. Yeah, he wants, Noah had to be going continually back. Did God, I would love to know, did God just go, okay, here's how to totally build it, you're on your own? Or did Noah run into, hey, I've got some questions here, how does this look?
Well, or even before the instructions of the ark, just that walking with God, like the whole fact that he was righteous in a wicked generation. There's only one explanation for that. And it's just this daily, and he didn't have a Bible.
Right.
So what did that look like for him? This is at the very beginning of the story. And yet he found a way to do what Adam and Eve did. He walked with God and that influenced his whole life. And it wasn't about catching God's eye. Anybody could have had that.
Right.
You can have that. I can have that. Like, and I think that's important, because I think our tendency would be to make Noah the hero of this story. Or make ourselves the hero of our own story. Like, look at all these awesome kids I raised, or look at, this ministry I have, or look at how I'm so superior to these other people in my church who have addiction or whatever. Well, no, that would be a really poor telling of the story because none of us are these standout heroes. The only explanation for anything good in our life is that we have walked with God and been influenced by him. So I think that's kind of a lie to say I'm the standout hero. I've done it all. Right. So, okay.
Even if you are, pride comes before the fall.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of true. That's kind of true. All right, maybe one more. Let's see. I'm going to pick a good one.
Oh, it's Erika's question. I'm going to move the mic while you're looking.
Let's see. I have no influence. Other people are responsible for their own choices.
I would say 7 people were saved because of Noah.
Yes.
So you have no clue the influence that you have on other people's lives, or what God may do because of you and other people.
Yes.
This is going outside the story, but like Abraham praying for Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes.
Like Lot and his kids 2 daughters were saved because of Abraham's prayer. So
that's good.
You really don't know.
Yeah. You look at all of those people who drowned in this story, and that's so sad. And you think, man, Noah only influenced 7 other people, but he influenced every other person in his family.
Right.
Like, if you turn that around, every single person lived through that flood. because of one man. And like, so who's my sphere of influence? You know, who can I talk to about this very story today? So, well, thanks for being my little guinea pigs here.
That was actually a lot of fun.
Was it? Good.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that you gave us something at the beginning that felt, I don't know if I can do this. Now I go, I could totally do this.
You can totally do this.
It would be fun.
It would
Yeah.
be.
To try it. I think we'd have some storytellers in our family, so you'd have to really go.
Well, and you can do it any way you want. Like you can tell it and then have one of them tell it, you know, who wants to try it? And we've had that before. Oh, one time my son said that he would do it, my son Cole, and Cade was like, well, I'll provide the background music. And so he gets on the piano and he's doing all this mood music and Cole's like really playing it up. I mean, it was dramatic. It was awesome.
But I'm thinking you could even do this in a Bible study.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
No,
this
actually-
doesn't have to be just family gatherings of
It's so
get a
true.
group of your friends together and go,
Yes.
hey, you know what? Let's get together and just have a time of hanging out as moms and friends, but also going, let's have some good discussion here.
It's so true. And you know what, that brings me back. The impetus for all of this was my husband was leading our small group from church and went to a training on it's called storying. And there's a book I can give you the title of it, but he went through this training and then we did it as our small group. So we went through a series of stories of the Bible, and they were literally my favorite small group discussions in all the years that we did it with that group. I loved what the stories. And then our whole church went through Nehemiah, and this was our Bible study each week. Was like we would do the storying. We would have a storying conversation about the book of, like a segment of the book of Nehemiah. So every week I had to kind of learn the story and retell it to my women, and it was great. I loved it. So yeah, you definitely could do this.
Yeah, this applies in so many ways.
Well, and I mean, you guys know the Hebrew mindset and like the Jewish people. I mean, could you imagine that this would be how they would discuss?
Yeah, I think because story just invites conversation.
Yeah.
It draws everybody in, and it connects on so many different levels and ages. I mean, doing this with family setting, you can pull in the 8-year-old, and they're gonna
17-year-old, the 21-year-old.
yeah, and the 80-year, not that we have any 80-year-olds right now, but 80-year-olds can come.
Yeah.
It levels the playing field, and it brings everyone in, and you get perspective and you get insight that you might not have considered.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you get the most amazing insights from the people that you wouldn't expect. It's really fun. And so you, as the one leading the discussion, just go ahead and affirm those and say, that is really good. I love that you brought that in. And I forgot to say, I did actually lead an Easter, like I told part of the Easter story, and I just invited women from my neighborhood. So I did do it once. It was so great. And there was a woman there who, like, I just had them say, like, you know, what's your experience with church? Are you part of a church or whatever? And this is a woman who hadn't been to church since she was a child. And I just remember when we retold the story, I accidentally skipped part of it. And she goes, you forgot the part about the, and I was like, you are right, you know, thank you. And so she just was really into it. I think, and I had several people tell me afterward, like, that was so good. I had forgotten about how much I love those stories of the Bible and how meaningful they are. So yeah, I think people are looking for ways to discuss truth, and this could be a really great way for you to get going. And there are lots of tools. Like I mentioned, the book, if you want to try it. There's a course that my husband and I took before we started doing, like, with our family stuff with story runners. You can go through a course. So there's lots of options.
I think part of what I like too, Shannon, is that you kept it so simple. I think a lot of times, especially being a mom in this situation, the kids will ask questions and you're like, I don't know how to answer. Like, what if somebody says something I don't know the answer to? But by keeping the story simple, it felt like, okay, I can do this. I don't have to have all the answers, and we're just discussing, and I can at least give my kids this, and who knows what God will teach them through the years.
Yeah, and you just let the story answer the questions. You don't have to answer anything. Well, what did the story say? What, you know, like, can you think of a question that would be hard to answer about the flood?
Well, not at the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I guess now that you think that. I mean,
I
I know.
could-
Well, how long did it take him? Well,
We aren't told that. That's what you say. We aren't
Okay,
told
that's
that.
true.
The story didn't tell us that. I mean, we know it must have been a while, but and you can piece it together, you know. But we're just taking the story rather than
Right.
getting into, and I think that's
Right.
how it's meant to be. But I could imagine dealing with like, how could God do that? And so
Mhm.
then you respond, well, but remember what we learned at the beginning, that God was grieved, it made him sad. And so don't forget that part, or what do we learn about God? So I don't know. I think you might be surprised at how easy it is. So,
But I like this. So I think in wrapping up, just Shannon, your podcast is Live Like It's True. Shannon has a book coming out in June.
yes.
Kind of judgy.
Yep.
And then she has multiple other books that are really good.
Thank you.
So,
yeah.
but
Yeah. And if you want, I have this, I call it the false narrative watch list. So I have a whole bunch of like we looked through some of those lies. So I can put a link that you can
Oh,
get those.
perfect.
It's actually embedded in a whole, I call it the Live Like It's True workbook. So I talk through how to look at a story and evaluate it kind of the same way that we just did. I think the questions are pretty similar, if not exactly the same. So, but it's got this watch list. So you can have one of those if you'd like.
But what I like is I feel like we've walked this podcast and last week's or the other podcast of just some actionable, simple but profound things we can try, and just how to incorporate talking about our faith, sharing our faith. Stories is the vehicle that gives it to us.
It is.
Everybody loves a good story. Everybody will stop and listen to a story.
Yeah.
And you've showed us how through telling the story, then the questions we can ask that just kind of lead that discussion. Because sometimes people go, oh, it's a story, but I don't know what to do afterwards.
Yeah.
Here's 5 simple questions.
So
see
simple.
where the conversation goes, and you'll never know what seed you're planting, how you're encouraging people to grow.
Yeah.
And what God will
I've
do.
never had, we've done this at least a dozen times now, and I've never had a situation where nobody had an answer to one of those questions. So,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty there for
So
you.
perfect. So thank you for
It was great.
thank you for letting us come and read your house.
Pleasure. It
And
was so
spending the day
fun.
with you.
It was so fun. Thanks for having me. I love what you guys are doing. So proud of you. Friend, I hope this conversation will inspire you to study this story for yourself straight from the Bible. Check the show notes for my free Live Like It's True workbook packed with resources to help you study the narratives of the Bible. We've also got links to the other resources mentioned in this episode and a link to my website where you can search our episodes by section and book of the Bible. Live Like It's True is part of the Round the Table network. For more gospel-centered content that nurtures connection, deepens faith, and sparks conversation, go to roundthetable.co. Thanks so much for joining me, and now it's time to go live like it's true.